Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Motivating Moments, and welcome to 2026. If I haven't had a chance to speak to you personally, my prayer is that your 2026 is already off to an amazing start. And hey, I'm glad that you've taken a few minutes to join us today for this podcast that exists to offer short, focused moments of clarity and encouragement designed to help you grow, stay grounded, and move forward intentionally in all areas of your life, personal, spiritual, professional. We just hope this is an encouragement to you. Before we jump into today's content, I want to back up and address something that I mentioned a few weeks ago, and that is that there were some changes coming to the Motivating Moments platform, and I want to outline those couple of changes here for you in this first episode of 2026. So for some time now, Motivating Moments has been aimed to be a twice a month, 20-minute long series of motivating thoughts that would help move you forward and encourage you and strengthen your faith and strengthen your resolve to be everything that God's calling you to be. And in 2026, what I want you to expect is that Motivating Moments is going to accelerate output exponentially, and instead of an aim of twice a month, we plan to be coming to you on a weekly basis. And our hope is not only will we be coming to you on a weekly basis, but you've been used to a rhythm of Tuesdays. So I want to back that up because of the nature of our content. If you are permitting me, among the many Monday motivators that there are in the marketplace, to be in your ear, I want to get in there as early in the week as I can. So I want to join you on your commute Monday morning while you're getting ready on Monday mornings to face your week. I want to join you then and there to establish a thought for you that will perhaps challenge you throughout the week and help you have a more productive and a better week. So moving forward, Motivating Moments is going to be a weekly podcast created to provide steady, intentional encouragement for people who want to keep growing in meaningful ways. The episodes are going to be a little shorter, a little more focused, but the purpose is going to remain the same, and that is to help you think clearly, live intentionally, and keep moving forward. And each episode is designed to be just what the namesake is: a motivating moment, a focused idea, a practical way to just help you, a practical perspective, something that you can carry with you into your week, whether you're leading a team, building a career, or just simply working on your own personal growth. And I can't think of a better way to start a new season than by addressing a truth that applies across the board in faith, in leadership, in work, in life, and that is the idea that growth doesn't happen accidentally. I know here at the top of the year, you've probably got some goals that you want to see realized this year, and I will just encourage you again. I know you already know this, but none of those things are going to happen by accident. They'll all happen to you by design. They'll all happen to you on purpose, and they'll all happen because of great intentionality. In thinking about this subject, I remember the words penned by the writer to the Hebrews that speaks to this idea of growth in ways that are surprisingly practical. And the writer addresses people who had been exposed to truth. They'd been exposed to wisdom. They'd had all the instruction that they needed. As a matter of fact, they'd had it for a long time. And Paul kind of outlines that they should have been at a different point of maturity in their lives than they were. But they hadn't continued to develop at a pace that they should have. The issue here for them was the same that it is for you and I. It wasn't access. It wasn't that they lacked access. It wasn't that they lacked opportunity. It wasn't even that they didn't expend effort in the traditional sense, because there are a lot of people that do the same things they've always done for scores of years, but yet there's no personal growth in their lives. There's no fruit to show for it. It's just simply they've learned and gotten really good at repeating patterns. The thing that was lacking in the life of the Hebrews is the thing that often frustrates a lot of us, and that is that All of their patterns and all of their efforts produce no progress. And that reveals a really important truth that applies far beyond our faith, and that is that time alone doesn't produce growth. Time alone doesn't produce growth. We often assume erroneously that experience is automatically going to lead to maturity, and that if we stay in something long enough, whether it's a role or a career, a relationship, or some discipline, that will naturally get better. But the truth is that that's not always true. You can spend years doing the same thing and simply get no better at anything than repeating patterns. You can stay busy and not develop. You can accumulate time without accumulating wisdom. And the truth here is that growth requires more than exposure. It requires engagement. In the same way that the Hebrews weren't engaging with the truth, they simply had exposure. Sometimes you and I simply have exposure to the life, but we're not engaging with the life that is being presented to us. And that's true spiritually, that's true professionally, that's true personally. You can be in leadership for years and still avoid developing your leadership skills. You can stay in a job for decades and stop learning halfway through. You can repeat routines long enough that you begin to feel like you've got some modicum of progress, even when they're not producing anymore. And the truth is here that real growth happens when we respond intentionally to what we're learning. When we challenge ourselves to move beyond what's familiar and then move into what's formative, to move beyond what's familiar and move into what's formative, because growth doesn't happen accidentally. It happens when awareness leads to action. There's a lot of us that we're aware of any number of maladies or deficiencies or insufficiencies in our own lives that need to be developed, and it's not things that are inherent inabilities. It's just things that we lack, that we know we lack, and we could improve on if we applied ourselves. So I'm not talking about handicaps. I'm talking about true things that are within our grasp to be able to change. Those things could be changed if we would not only be aware of it, but change it, but take action with it. There are people I know that they've been diagnosed with diabetes. It hasn't changed their diet one bit. They still indulge in any number of junk foods and sweet treats and all those things, and just say, I know this is the way it is, but I'm aware of it, but I'm not changing any of the action around it. So nothing changes. And that's just one example of many that we could use. And one of the most common reasons that growth stalls in our lives, whether personally, professionally, or spiritually, is comfort. We don't want to discomfort ourselves. We don't want to put ourselves in a place where we're not in control, or we don't know what all the outcomes are going to look like. So we like comfort. And comfort isn't bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not some kind of glutton for punishment. Comfort isn't bad. Stability isn't a bad thing. Routine in and of itself is not inherently bad. But when comfort becomes the goal, growth quietly moves to the background. And we will find systems that work well enough. We will learn how to meet expectations without being stretched. And we manage responsibility instead of developing capacity. And over time, growth will give way to maintenance. And this is what we would call drift. It's a drift in life, that we're no longer on a growth trajectory, we're on a comfort schedule. And what makes this challenging is that drift doesn't feel dangerous at first. Drift often feels calm, it feels placid, it feels predictable, sometimes even successful, but drift is rarely ever neutral. It's directional. And drift doesn't mean that things are falling apart. Don't get that idea. It usually means just simply that things have stopped moving forward. Things have stopped moving forward, and rather than moving directionally with intention, we are moving away from things that we've intended by default. And in leadership, drift shows up when development stops and performance plateaus. In careers, drift shows up when learning slows and habits become rigid. In personal growth, drift shows up when intention fades and life becomes simply reactive rather than us moving with intention, controlling the lead measures of our lives. We just look at lag measures and outcomes and say, well, this is good enough and I'm comfortable here, so here's where I'll stay. And here's the key insight. Drift happens when direction becomes optional. When we stop asking hard questions. When we stop evaluating patterns and going, okay, I'm investing all this effort, but where is it really leading me? How am I really developing? How am I advancing towards my goals? And when we stop choosing growth on purpose, our growth will become elusive. And growth requires more than good intentions. It requires consistent, intentional choices. It requires deciding on our part that improvement matters. Even when things are fine, even if things are good, it requires recognizing that staying the same is often more costly than we realize. And the people who continue to grow over time, spiritually, professionally, personally, they're not always the most gifted or even the most driven, but they are almost always the most intentional because they choose direction when drift would be easier. They choose reflection when routine would be more comfortable. And growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens when direction is chosen repeatedly. So here's a question worth asking as we begin this year. And it's one that cuts through the inspiration and gets down to reality. And that is the question that I want to leave you here with this Monday morning. And that is, what am I doing intentionally right now to grow? What am I intentionally doing to grow right now in this season? Not what you hope will change, not what you feel inspired to do someday when things slow down, but what are you actually choosing consistently, day after day, week after week, moment by moment in life right now that's going to help you grow? Growth doesn't usually begin with dramatic decisions. It begins with a deliberate one. So most of the time it starts with a small adjustment that leads to a change in direction over time. And that adjustment might look like learning a new habit. It may be deciding to read instead of Netflix binging. It may be developing a listening skill or study something that stretches you instead of something that entertains you. And growth follows learning, but only when the learning is intentional. It may look like setting a clear priority, recognizing that not everything deserves the same level of attention in your life, and that saying yes to growth often means saying no to distraction. So it could mean that you need to establish a better boundary in protecting your time, your energy, your focus, so that you can actually invest in what matters instead of constantly reacting to what's urgent. And another thing that we can do that might help us grow is it might call for a renewed focus. Choosing to do few important things well instead of a lot of things halfway would be a great help to most of us. And small decisions repeated consistently, create momentum over time. They reshape our habits, they redirect our energy, and eventually they produce visible growth. The key isn't doing everything at once, and I want to encourage you with that this week at the onset. The key is not to change everything today. The key is not to wake up tomorrow and just be entirely different. The key is doing something on purpose. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is direction. And so that is the thought for today. I hope that gets down in your spirit and that it rolls over in your mind and is a meditation of your heart throughout this week. And as we step into this new season of Motivating Moments, my hope is that these weekly episodes serve as a steady reminder to stay intentional, especially when life gets hard and work gets full, demanding, and unpredictable, because growth isn't loud, it doesn't announce itself, and it's rarely dramatic. Growth happens quietly through daily choices, consistent effort, and intentional direction. And over time, those choices will add up. So when you choose direction over drift, progress follows. When you choose intention over convenience, development happens. And when you stay consistent, even in small ways, growth becomes inevitable. So, hey, thank you for spending these moments with me today. If you would rather see the video version of this, it is available on the YouTube channel. Search Motivating Moments with Pastor Steve there, and we can just share a little bit of FaceTime over on that platform as well. If today's episode was an encouragement to you, I would love it if you would like. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the podcast. And by all means, it would help us to encourage others if you would share this episode with your friends on your social media platforms, or maybe you know somebody that you just want to drop a personal text to and include the link to today's show. As always, if you are in the context of leading and you would like for me to come and add voice to yours, lend my voice to your vision and help you in developing your team and moving your progress forward, I would love to do that. You can jump over to motivatingmoments.online. Again, that's motivatingmoments.online. There is booking information there, and I would love to chat with you there on the website. So join us there. Hey, thanks for spending a moment with me today. I am grateful to walk this year out with you, and I look forward to sharing many more motivating moments together. Hey, stay motivated, my friends.